Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. Game over, series over, and the Red Sox are world champs again. And so are these fans. It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions.
Boston organization has been well run for a long time now. From the top on down, here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series. 5-1 the final tonight. And the best team in baseball wins it all in 2018.
Sox have won the World Championship. The Boston Red Sox beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 5-1. They win the World Series 4-1. And the Red Sox become the first team in the 21st century with 4 World Championships. Can you believe it?
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. We're here, episode 22, and it's a special one. DC, what's been going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Just living the life, and yeah, not too much, man. How about you?
Not bad. Man, we have we've been pumping it all week. We got a great guest coming on. When we were there at the Rail Riders Woo Sox game, we started making a few connections with some of the players for the AAA Woo Sox, and one guy that kind of caught my eye and was a really great person to sit there and just sit down and talk to was our guest today. And without further ado, let's bring him on. It is the outfielder, Narciso Crook.
Good morning, guys. What's going on? How we doing?
How's it going, man? Appreciate
Hey,
you
how's it going,
time to come on
Narciso?
today.
Doing well. Doing very well. Thank you guys for having me. Let's do it.
So, Narciso, you sit there and you started playing baseball at a young age. So, what exactly got you into baseball instead of other sports?
So it's funny because a lot of people ask me that because I started playing baseball when I first moved to the United States. I'm from the Dominican Republic originally, and I never played when I was down there. I never played any sports when I was there. I was more into just education, family, and then when my family moved to the United States, my mom and dad separated. When my mom moved, when she came and we moved over with her, I had my cousin who was playing baseball in Little League, and in my household, they were like, hey, you're not going to just be sitting around the house. We want you to do something. So I went to go play with my little cousin who was my age, and we were both 11 years old. And next thing you know, they just kind of threw me out there, and I turned out pretty good. And I fell in love with baseball, and then that kind of kick-started everything of me started to train and taking it seriously, and then wanted to go to high school and then wanted to get drafted in professional.
What positions did you play growing up? Was it always outfield?
What was it like to get?
What position? So they started me off at shortstop because I was a really good athlete. So next thing you know, I'm here playing shortstop, and once I got to high school, and they were like, "Hey, this guy has a pretty good arm and runs pretty well. We're gonna put you in the outfield." So I started playing center field. Next thing you know, I'm playing all the outfield, and when I went to junior college, I was strictly just playing outfield at that point. They wanted me to pitch a little bit because I had a good arm, but once I saw all the running that pitchers did, I was like, I don't want to pitch anymore. So I just stuck to the outfield and just stuck playing outfield, and that's how I got drafted.
Nice.
So, what was it like, going through being drafted overall by the Cubs?
Well, I was drafted by the Reds initially, and
the Reds.
yeah, I was drafted by the Reds initially, and that was a roller coaster because so where I'm from in New Jersey, not too many guys are getting drafted from that area, so it was a really big deal just getting drafted. The high school that I went to, we weren't necessarily like really, really good as far as record wise. We didn't have like a winning season any of the seasons that I was there, but we had a great group of guys. So when I'm getting drafted, I remember they called me on the third day of the draft. Back then, this was 2013. I don't know how it is now, but back then they had a system where it was like a 3-day system because it was 40 rounds. So they called me on the third day, and they're like, "Hey, we're planning on taking you on the 11th." And I think it was the Rangers that called me. A few teams called me. They were planning on taking me on the 11th round, and I was like, "Let's go!" You know, like this is my dream. The Reds were calling me as well, and next thing you know, like the draft starts, and they're kind of just reading off names and updating names, and I'm sitting there looking at the TV, and like round 11 goes by, round 12 goes by, round 13 goes by, and we get all the way to like round 17, 18, and I'm sitting there with my best friend, and I'm like, man, this is not happening, huh? Like everything kind of went south, and I'm like, okay, this is not happening, and I got real emotional, and I turned the TV off, and I'm like, man, you know what? I don't want to sit here and watch this. So I turned the TV off and just kind of was like, I'm done with this. And, kind of just felt like everything was falling apart. And then next thing you know, I get a phone call like, hey, we've selected you in the 23rd round. And then excitement right away again. I was like super hype again. And I was like super excited. I actually broke my couch because I was sitting on it, started jumping up and down. It was a dream come true, especially like I said, from the neighborhood that I came from, not too many guys getting drafted. It was a really big deal, and I was super excited just to get an opportunity to play professional baseball, which is my dream.
Yeah. Was there any other sports? Like I know, here in Mookie Betts, he played multiple sports. He played basketball, football, baseball. Well, was it just baseball for you, or were you an all-around athlete?
So like I said earlier, in the Dominican Republic, I didn't play any sports. I was just strictly just education. My mom and dad were both in education, in school, teaching, and my dad was a principal. So it was just education. When I first moved, the first sport that I actually tried was basketball, because my cousin, who I started playing baseball as well with, he was playing basketball in the Boys and Girls Club in town, and again, they signed me up for that too. And that was a hard time because nobody passed me the ball. One, I never played basketball before. But I was really athletic. But no one passed me the ball because I didn't speak any English. So I didn't know how to ask for them to pass me the ball. So I was sitting there like, hey, but I remember I made my first bucket. I had to it was a putback because I was really tall. I was a really tall kid. I was an early bloomer. I had a nice little putback, and that was my first bucket, and then that was the only bucket I had because I only played 2 games.
So, being overall in the Cincinnati Reds, what was it like first day of training? I guess you call it like training camp. Your first being on the team. How was that?
It was pretty cool. It's already been 10 years at this point, so I got to sit there and really think. But I remember being everything being surreal. I was young. I was 17 when I signed. 17 years old, so you're just a really young kid. And I remember thinking okay, well, this is where the journey begins. You don't know where it's going to take you. You don't know what's going to happen in between. And you don't, it was the first time me traveling so far away from home and being on my own kind of. So it's like the start to that. So all I remember thinking was, okay, you know what? Just figure things out as you go. You don't have to know everything, but just kind of go with it and figure it out, and everything will play out itself. And first day was like really, really, overwhelming because they I got there late, one, because I signed really, really late. I wasn't sure if I wanted to commit to signing right away. So I waited until the deadline that you have. There's like a month deadline after the draft where you have to decide whether you want to sign with the team or not. And I waited pretty much all the way towards the deadline to sign because I wasn't sure. So at that point, everybody had already been acclimated. Every guy that drafted that year was already like, they've been with the team. They kind of got, the rundown of how things work. They had those meetings already, and I kind of missed all of those. So for me, I get there and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I remember thinking, I didn't know how diverse baseball was, especially like in rookie ball. You get to Arizona, which is where the Reds complex was. And there's a bunch of Hispanic guys. There's a bunch of guys from different countries. There's a bunch of guys. And I didn't know the diversity of that. I didn't know that there was a bunch of guys who didn't speak any English that were just going to be there. And I remember thinking, because my last name, Crook, is not an American, it's not a Spanish last name. It sounds like more an American name. So I remember sitting there, and I was sitting in my locker kind of waiting for somebody to come because they told me, hey, go sit there in your locker. We'll come back. We'll come and get you. And a guy saw my last name, and he came to introduce himself. He spoke no English, but he wanted to make me feel comfortable. So he came up to me and kind of said, hey, how you doing? My name is Juan. That was his name. But in the most broken English I've ever seen. And I remember looking at him and started smiling, and I talked back to him in Spanish, like, hey, man, how you doing? In Spanish. And he went nuts. It was like, okay, like that kind of helped me fit in right away. And I was like, okay, this is cool. We're ready to go,
Was there any player coming up in the last 10 years that, had a pretty big impact on you in any of the organizations you've been on? Or is it like, whether it's a guy that came down for like a rehab assignment, kind of shared some extra advice with you, or somebody you had a bond with just going through the years of the minors?
Well, I mean, at this point, I've met so many guys, and I've made so many connections with guys, right? I mean, you think I was with Cincinnati for 8 years, which is a long time. So I was in that organization for a while, and I got to know all those guys. My best friend, who's Chadwick Trump, me and him are, like I said, best friends. He's with the Braves. He's up and down with the Braves at the moment. But he's been one of the biggest influences in my life. I don't know if you guys remember Aristides Aquino. That's another guy that was, coming up. Me and him played like every single level together, and we're like best friends as well. But if I had to say a guy that I like from the big leagues that had a good influence in me, that helped me, that I went to talk to, and was always like willing to talk and open, Joey Votto was great. Joey Votto was pretty awesome. Just coming up in the system, he's the guy in Cincinnati, especially for like those 10 years, like Joey, Joey was the prime guy. So I remember there was one year that he started the season off really, really, really bad. And at the half, I don't know, I forget what he was hitting. He was hitting like 210 at the half. And he ended the year close to like 300 or something. And I remember going back to spring training the next year, and I was like, hey, man, what was going through your mind? What was going through your mind? I'm asking him questions. And he gave me some answers, and it was just cool to see that, this guy is willing to talk to us. So last year when I made my debut with the Cubs, it was against Cincinnati, which was awesome because when I went and made my major league debut, everybody on the other side of the dugout, I kind of knew. The first guy that I faced in the big leagues, my first at bat was my old roommate, which was awesome. And my second at bat, I got a double. So I get to second base, and I'm standing on second base. And there's actually a really cool picture that someone took, and it's Joey Votto. He's sitting there like looking at me and smiling, and like when I look, he goes, "Hey, welcome to the big leagues." And that was pretty cool to have him be the first person to welcome me in, after he was giving me advice coming up and stuff. So.
Yeah, I definitely remember that Joey Votto year. I actually drafted him in my fantasy baseball league and dropped him, and then regretted it ever since.
There you go.
So
Yeah,
you in oh no, go ahead. In 2022, you elected free agency. So what was the thought process, of, man, I want to take a chance on myself. I want to sit there and see what's out there and see who's willing to give me a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty good season last year. Made my major league debut with the Cubs, and I'm very grateful to the Cubs. They were very good to me as an organization, and I still have a lot of good connections there, a lot of good friends over there in that organization who, like I said, they were all really good to me. It was just a situation where they took me out of the roster in the offseason, and I knew that they had a lot of outfield prospects coming up who they had to put on the roster or else they're going to lose them, because of the Rule 5. So just the way of business, how business works. And I was sitting there looking at it and just thinking about how what would be the best opportunity for me. Sat there and talked to my agent, and we just selected that free agency was going to be the better choice, just to come to a team who's going to need more outfielders, more guys that are going to be resourceful to them. So it was just sitting there and looking at our situation and how things are. They just, like I said, the Cubs were a great organization. They were really good to me. It just seemed like the better idea to go with.
So Boston ends up reaching out to you. Was there any other teams besides the Red Sox that reached out to you, or were they just the first one?
I'm not sure. All of that stuff goes through my agent, and essentially, we as players don't necessarily need to or want to know what all the ins and outs behind all of that stuff is, right? So we just want to focus on playing, and that's what a great agent does. A great agent says he'll only come to you when hey, this is going to be like we have an option on the table. If you never want to bring up other teams, if it's something iffy, if it's something that may or may not be, you only want something concrete. So, when Boston came to us and I sat down with him and we discussed it, it was like, hey, this is a really good team. This is a really good option for you. We sat down and we agreed, and then we got in touch with Boston, and like I said, they were great. They've been great ever since I signed with this team. This organization is awesome.
Yeah, seeing you up there at AAA, like just the smile you brought, when I seen you out there talking to Ronaldo, Abreu, like you were just like bonding with everybody, and just the smile on your face and the confidence and like the character you could see, when you and I first had the first interaction, you were just like, man, you got to have faith. You can do it. You can sit there and you have to have confidence, and that just like beams out of you when you're with the teammates around you.
Yeah, man. I mean, to me, it's part of being a team, right? And it's not just in baseball. I mean, in life too, right? In life, you kind of have to have that confidence. You kind of have to have that faith that things will play out the way you want them to, because we have very little things that we're in control of, I feel like. Not just in baseball, but in life, right? So to me, I want to be, the things that I want to control are the things that are coming out of me, the things that I can be a part of, and the things that I can influence every day. So I choose to do that every day, and I want to. I'm not saying every single day is perfect, every single day is the same, but I try to lean more on that, and especially with my teammates. These are guys that you spend most of the year with. You spend more time with these guys than with your family. So you talk, you go through things, you go through experiences, and you sit there and you go to war together, right? So for me, I'm looking at it like I'm going to have these guys' backs, and I know they're going to have my back too. So we're always helping each other. We're always keeping each other on track. We're always having each other's back. So for me, like, whenever I can, whenever somebody is needing me to be that teammate, to be that friend or something off the field or whatever, I'm always there. So very important for me.
Yeah. I always sit there and I'm checking out your Instagram all the time, and it seems like one person that's a character just like you is Fitzy, and he was the first guy that I interviewed that weekend, and I was like, I messed it up so bad because I call him Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh no.
But he was a trooper. He kept going, and I stopped, and I'm like, yeah, we can't keep going. I messed up. And he goes, man, it's okay. He goes, you know how many people do that? And he goes, and the funny thing is, my middle name's Patrick. So I'm like, wow, okay. But I sit there and see on your Instagram that you guys have a close relationship and stuff. So tell us a little bit about how well you guys are connected and stuff.
Well, Fitzy's awesome, man. Like we shared a locker, like our lockers were next to each other in spring training. It was me, Fitzy, Sogard, and Koss, who just recently got up here. We were all like in the same row, and we got to spend a lot of time with each other in spring training. And it's funny because one thing that I heard before we even got to Worcester was that, hey, Fitzy is like a fan favorite over there. The fans love him. You know, everybody goes crazy with Fitzy. And I love that because in all my previous team, I've been like a fan favorite. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is a guy that has a personality. This is a guy that likes to be out there, likes to be, entertaining the crowd. Because at the end of the day, we're all entertainers, So I was like, okay, I know I'm going to get along with this guy really well. So right away that connection, formed, and we've been kicking it since spring training, and Fitzy's a dude, and we have a lot of dudes on this team. Honestly, like we have a lot of great personalities on this team. So it's cool to see. Not every single team that you go to is going to have a lot of personalities like that, where you're going to have like guys who are open or willing to have fun like that. Not everybody's helps them with that. Not everybody wants to do that every single day, or some people just want to have their headphones in and just relax and kind of, get ready for the game, and that's fine too, So it's cool to have that on this team.
Yeah. Well, since coming over here to the Boston organization, we've had some great people, on rehab assignments. Unfortunately, Adam Duvall was recently one of them. You guys both playing the outfield position. What were any reactions or interactions you guys had with each other? And, did you get to pick his brain at all?
Doobie's cool. Doobie's awesome. I actually got to play with Doobie when he was in Cincinnati as well. So, okay. And then we actually rehabbed together as well for a little bit, because I don't remember what he was rehabbing, but I had a shoulder. I had a shoulder surgery that I was rehabbing. I don't know. I had two surgeries. I don't know which one. I think it was the shoulder, or it might have been the hernia. But he was there, and I remember we rehabbed for a little bit together, and we spent time in spring training with Cincinnati. But that was way back. But Doobie's awesome. He just came to play. Honestly, he just came to play. He came to get ready. We didn't sit there. We didn't really pick his brain a lot, because at this point, this point in the season, at this point in your career, AAA, you kind of already know what you need to do, and everybody, it's more individualized. Mm-hmm. There's some things that like about baseball, there's some things that you're gonna be like, all right, what do you think about this? Especially like at the plate. What I like about Doobie is Doobie's very good at giving you feedback off the pitcher, like, hey, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. In the outfield, we talked a lot, like, hey, this is what's going on out here today in the outfield, like the ball's doing this, the ball's doing that. So that communication is very key. That communication is very important. He's not a Gold Glove for no reason, So it's really good to pick his brain when you do that. And that's it, man. Doobie's an awesome dude. Like I said, we go back from Cincinnati, and known him for a long time already at this point. So it was more like, hey, good to see you again. Let's play baseball.
Yeah. So let's flip flop it. Instead of you going to people for advice, who have you taken under your wing to kind of like coach a little bit?
I wouldn't say I'd take anybody under my wing. I always want to just help out guys who I think need me in any way, as a teammate, as a friend, as a stranger. A lot of times, sometimes people just want to no bias advice. I just want to be a voice, to be heard or an ear. So I wouldn't normally say I'll take anybody under my wing. It may feel like I do, but I wouldn't think of it that way. I'm just always willing to help. I'm really good at noticing things and seeing guys, and I've been through a lot of things myself. Like I said, this is my 10th year already, so I've seen a lot of things. I've played through a lot of things and been on different teams, and played with a bunch of guys. So at this point, I kind of can pick out a lot of things, and whenever I see a guy who's struggling with something, or a guy who's low on confidence, or just not feeling his best self, I'll be that guy that leans on him and like, hey, we got this, or we're good, especially when teams going through something. Right now, we're going through injuries, not just here but also in the big league. So all of that stuff kind of falls in the domino effect, and we gotta stick together when things like that happen.
I've always, asked everybody that we've interviewed in the AAA level, AA level, like, how hard is it to get into a groove throughout a season when you got guys coming, getting called up, getting brought back down, injuries, rehab assignments? Like, how hard is it for a team to sit there and gel like that throughout a season?
I mean, AAA is a melting pot, and I didn't understand that until I got to AAA. I feel like you'll never understand that until you get there, because one week you'll have one team, and then the next week you can have a completely different team. So it's baseball is hard itself as it is, and to try to make sense of losing guys and gaining other guys and new guys on the team, there's just no like recipe to like around that. You just got to go out there and do your best every single day. I think the coaching is very important. The managing is very important, and how they handle that. And Trace here does a great job because he's super chill. He's super communicating with us. We'll sit there and we'll talk, and it's just like it's an open conversation, and we're able to sit there and communicate things. And it's very important to keep the guys loose, because like I said, there's no recipe to hey, this is how we're gonna handle the situation. Next week we're gonna get two guys, and we're gonna lose three. Like there's no, what I'm saying, that doesn't, you don't know that. You don't know that that's gonna happen. So just sticking together and seeing things for how they come, taking it every single day at a time, and just going with it, man. That's just what it is. There is no recipe. It's just having a good team that's able to deal with that adversity. And everybody in AAA and in the big leagues does it, Mm-hmm. Just like there's a lot of movements in the AAA, there's just the same in the big leagues, because there wouldn't be moves if guys are coming up and down. So big leagues too, they have to deal with that. You go up there and that team could change at any moment, right? And that's when it really matters up there, right? So like you really have to have a team up there who's able to go through things like that and able to say, okay, you know what, we lost this guy, we got this new guy, we're still going to go out there and play baseball to the best of our capabilities.
So, Narciso, let's sit there and switch it up from baseball. When I had Joe Braley on, he was one thing that he was very proud of is how he got different players to volunteer their time and stuff. And recently, you were one of those players I seen on your Instagram. Like, how does that make you feel, being able to volunteer your time to kids that, look up to you and stuff like that?
Honestly, I love it. I love going out to schools, doing the charity stuff with the teams. I've been doing it ever since I signed as a professional, and it's awesome to me, because part of what I do and part of who I am as a player is not just going out there and being a baseball player. I think a lot of people see us just as athletes, and that's it. So like usually like I'll get something like, hey, you're the baseball player, right? And it's like, that's what I am. That's it. You know what I mean? And the reality, that's just not it. Well, that's just not it. You're not just a baseball player. You can be many things, especially off the field, right? So for me, I love giving back, and I know that sounds cliche, but the people that do, it's awesome, because like that, we have a platform, and that's how I see it. We have a platform. We have kids looking up to us. We have an opportunity help these kids and to help, you know, this community, the society. I feel like things are crazy enough as it is right now, you know, and with all the social media. So, you know, I try to spread as much positivity out there as I can. You know, I'm the type of person that, like, if I'm going to post something on social media, or if I'm going to do something out in public, if it's not positive, or if it's not something that's going to help someone, or if it's going to have a negative effect on someone, I'm just not going to do it, or not going to post it, because I don't want that image out there. You know, I don't want anything out there that's going to give somebody a negative, you know, image or bring somebody down, you know. So I love it. One of my goals is to be able to touch a lot of people and to be able to make a difference. So that's part of the reason I play, and that's part of the reason what I stand for. So I love it, man. One of my goals is to be able to touch as many people as possible in a positive way, and change our culture, to change what we do as a society, and make it a better place for, you know, for everyone.
So, Narciso, your time with us is coming down, but I'm going to start asking this question to everybody we interview. So it's going to be a kind of a hot tub time machine thing, to where you can go back and face any pitcher, have the opportunity at one at bat to face any pitcher in Major League history. Who would it be and why?
I have two.
Okay.
I have two. I like this question.
That's fine. Take them both.
So recently, I met Pedro in spring training, Pedro Martinez, and I've always, like, thought about facing him, because he was like, he's Pedro, like, you know what I mean? Like, one of the most dominating pitchers in the game.
He's a monster.
You know what I mean? Like, and after meeting him for the first time in spring training, I was like, yeah, I would have loved to face this guy, just to say that I did, and to see what it was like. Because to be that dominating as a pitcher, to be a player who's that good, who anytime you're out there, you're a menace to the other lineup. You know, I'm not saying it was going to go well, but just to see what it was doing, you know, he was my guy. And then ever since I signed, like, when I signed as an athlete, I was like, I want to get to the big leagues, and I want to face this guy before he retires. And, you know, unfortunately, he retired before I got up to the big leagues. But Mariano Rivera was the guy that I was like, man, I have so much respect for this guy. I see him as this great pitcher, you know, who like, I have him really high, you know, and respect wise. And I was just like, I just want to face him. I just want to be in the box and have him throw me a cutter and see what that does. You know what I mean? Like that's it. You know, just to think about a guy.
That cutter was dirty.
Bro, he dominated throwing fastball cutter. Like, how? You know what I mean? How do you do that? And not like 95, 97, 98. Well, when he was younger, right? He was throwing up there, but like towards the end of his career, when he was still dominating, you know, it was like 92. How? You know, so I have so much respect for the guy. I think he was awesome as a person as well. I did some research on him, and off the field, he was just a true gentleman, and did a lot of community work as well. So I love him as a player, and would have loved to face him.
Yeah. Well, Narciso, we would love to sit there and thank you for coming on. You are a first-class act all the way. Tell everybody where they can reach out, where they can find you, where they can follow you at, so they know.
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the time. This is great. Follow me on Instagram. Talk to me on Instagram. My Instagram is ncrook_. My Twitter is @outfielder, because that's me. You know, have some fun with me. And I usually like to, you know, when people reach out, a lot of people usually reach out because I have a rule. I don't know if you guys know about my rule. So I usually do it for guys, for people who do autographs. So like,
yeah,
my rule with autographs is whenever I sign anybody's autograph, they have to commit a single good deed for someone in 2 weeks. So usually I have a lot of people reach out to me on social media and like, hey, I did this and I did that. And that's pretty cool. So if people want to reach out, that outfielder or N Crook _ feel free. And then, let's have a conversation. Let's have some fun with it.
Yeah. DC, that was the one
awesome.
thing.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Chase and I told you when we went and asked Narciso for a little bit of his time, that was the commitment we did. And, and I love that because it's kind of like paying it forward and, it's something great. So, but
spread the positivity, man. That's admirable.
For sure.
But okay, guys, this is the Pesky Podcast in the books, episode 22. For myself, for DC, for that outfielder, Narciso Crook. Guys, see you guys next time on the Pesky Podcast.